You are listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for downloading and subscribing. Coming to you virtually live from high atop the historic Raleigh building in beautiful downtown Raleigh. The NCF&B takes the listener behind the scenes to tell the stories of the people that contribute to the creation of the food and beverage community of North Carolina. And now, the misfits in the dish pit, the faces of the front. They are Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And some of you might remember last year, we had some features on JoCo, Johnston County, and we had such a good time exploring Johnston County that we asked that lovely southern draw that you hear on this lady, you might have heard in some of our openings last year, Ms. Ashby Brame, who's the Director of Marketing for Johnston County Visitors Bureau. Welcome, Ashby.
Thank you for having me.
There it is. There's that voice you're talking about.
There it is.
We were cracking up. So we did some highlights of what's cool and fun about Johnston County last year. And as we were discussing it, I was just like hearing this great voice. I'm like, oh, yeah, we could talk about all this. I'm like, no. You talk about it, Ashby, because not only do you know everything about Johnston County, but it sounds good coming out of your mouth rather than this New Yorker or this Los Angelino over here. So that's why you're here, but really more you're here for the holidays.
Yes.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah. Happy
Mazel tov.
holidays.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Merry Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So
For those of you celebrating Kwanzaa, let us know what is the appropriate greeting. You
Yeah.
write it in.
Yeah. And all right, so we're talking about Johnston County. Now, because of everybody, a pandemic happened earlier this year.
Yeah. Don't know if you know.
So
It's a sitch.
it may or may not affect your travel plans to see your family, to go out, to go holiday shopping. Of course, that affects you, but it also affects the producers of fantastic products and all that. And so this might be a good way to kind of connect people with some things that they didn't know that they must have, but they should have. And so Ashby, who is representing all of Johnston County and a lot of the fantastic purveyors, we're going to highlight some cool things that you could purchase online, or you could make a day trip to go down there, or connect with them however makes sense, gift cards, all that stuff. So that's a little framework. But with that said, Ashby, let's first kind of just paint the picture of the beautiful and majestic Johnston County.
Okay. Well, Johnston County is right next to Wake County. So we are a neighbor of the Triangle. And the closest major town to Raleigh would be Clayton. So that is in Johnston County. Mm-hmm. And it's just a little hop, skip, and a jump down 70. And then Benson is also right down I-40. And Johnston County is where I-40 and I-95 come together. So from a tourism perspective, we get a lot of drive-through traffic, and we have the Carolina Premium Outlets, which is a major driving of shopping for us. We have a lot of history and heritage. We're the home to Ava Gardner, the Hollywood movie star. We have an excellently curated museum dedicated to her life and career in downtown Smithfield. And we also have a really thriving food and beverage scene. We used to, sadly, be the home to Johnston County Hams, which is closed now. Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But we also have a lot of products, not just things from farms, but also produced products that you might use in your everyday life or see in the grocery store in the Triangle and not realize that it comes from Johnston County. So we are just really excited to introduce people in the Triangle to some things in Johnston County that you might not know are right in your own backyard, especially this time of this season in our life, we'll call it, in 2020, when we're not doing a lot of traveling and we're not seeing a lot of traveling to Johnston County. But you can go, 30 minutes down the road and experience something, do something safely and close to home, or just experience a product from a new place in your own home.
Well, that kind of brings us to speak about one of the first products that you were talking about. With a lot of the closures and things that didn't happen, the state fair didn't happen, and that was unfortunate. And that's a great meeting place for purveyors all over the state to come together and kind of show off their wares and whatever they do. And one of which, Miss Debbie's Specialty Apples, is somebody that was really highlighted really well at the state fair. But Miss Debbie's still making those apples, and they're available. So let's talk about what she's bringing.
Yes, so Miss Debbie makes the apples year-round. She is most popular, obviously, during the state fair. She has a booth in one of the buildings, and they often have people lining up, down the block, as it were, to get this special apple that she makes, and she's based out of Benson, North Carolina. She does not have a storefront, so when she's not at the fair, what she's normally doing is focusing on her online business. She does a lot of fundraisers with people with her apples throughout the year, and so you can find her always throughout the year online at her website, which is specialtyapples.com. But normally you would find her at the state fair. A lot of people may just know her as that amazing apple that I get at the state fair every year. They might not know that it's even called Miss Debbie's Specialty Apples. Sure. And it starts with a Granny Smith apple, and she dips it in caramel, and then from there she just builds all kinds of different themed apples. And so it's not like the normal sort of candied red apple that you can get from multiple booths at the fair. This is a specialty gourmet apple.
This is like deluxe.
Yes,
crazy.
Absolutely.
Do you know where she's sourcing those apples from?
I do not know.
Okay.
I do not know where she's sourcing the apples from.
Because there's, you can get
probably
apples
from Taiwan or something.
I mean, maybe.
There is some apple growing
here,
in North Carolina, but it's way at the eastern end of the state, right?
Yeah, and northern, getting close to Virginia, because that's where all those apples really come from.
Yeah.
But I would I would guess that they're probably fairly local, because it's pretty easily accessible to get some apples out here.
Yeah, and I know she also she tries to source most of her ingredients locally, fresh. And then she also makes the caramel sauce daily in-house.
Okay.
That she's making the apples with. And then she, ships them wherever you need to send them. One of her big holiday things is a holiday box that she makes, and that consists of 5 apples. So you can always go on and order whatever apples you want. She has almost 100 different varieties of special apples. But in the holiday box, what you're getting is a chocolate pecan praline apple, a holiday sprinkle apple, a Russian tea cake apple, a white chocolate toffee almond crunch apple, and a white chocolate peppermint apple. And so those also would make excellent gifts.
Yeah, with my kids, with my daughters, they love anything sweet, of course. That's a no-brainer. But we've had some of these and purchased them and had them in the house, and they're awesome because, I look at these things and I go, how do you even start? How do you even get into one of these things? But I just take the thing down with a nice sharp knife and I just slice it down into pieces.
That's what I do.
And it's tremendous. They're over the top, covered with M&Ms or covered with sprinkles or cinnamon or, dark chocolate, whatever, but it's a whole meal in itself, which is kind of nuts. But
yeah, there was one year at the fair when Incredible Me was really popular, and she made a minion apple, and of course all the kids immediately had to have
that
it.
One.
Yeah, that's cool. So go to specialtyapples.com. We will have links in our show notes, and we'll throw an Instagram post out there as well with some links so that you can access all of that. But again, so that's just one great example, one of the many great examples that come from Johnston County. And that's a good, apple a day. Let's get started right
That's right. Don't worry what it's covered in. An apple a day.
No one said that you couldn't put...
Exactly.
You still got the apple in there.
That's not part of the rhyme.
Yeah. Apple a day and 75 of M&Ms attached. Kind of keeps a doctor away.
Sure.
Or maybe you go see
dentist.
that doctor for your first diabetes appointment. Either way... You're gonna know your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Let's also continue. So something near and dear to my heart is just the home cooking aspect and something that we do. And from last year, we were talking about it. We need to get out here, what I'm about to mention. But we're talking about Atkinson's Milling Company. Took the family, went up to Winter Green, Virginia recently. And I still had some Atkinson's grits. And I took it with us on the trip, and we did this great brisket with all the stewed vegetables and all, and we made these cheesy grits. And there's nothing better than being in a log cabin up in the mountains and having cheesy grits and braised meats or whatever. And that's what we did. But that's coming from Atkinson's Milling Company. So let's talk about what they're doing, because they do more than just the grits too. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Atkinson is. So it's in Selma, North Carolina, and It is a stone ground grist mill. So they used to be watered power, obviously. Now they've moved to electric power, but it's still stone ground. And it is a 3-generation business that's owned by the Wheeler family. But a mill has resided in that location back to pre-Revolutionary War times in Johnston County. So it has a lot of history in that location. The Wheeler family bought it 3 generations ago, and they still run it. The patriarch Ray Wheeler, who purchased the mill originally, is known throughout the state, and he is copyrighted as the Cornbread Man. So he would, back when he was trying to get the mill started under his ownership, he was, the salesperson because he couldn't hire anyone yet to do sales. So he would travel around the state and go to restaurants and sell, their cornbread, their hush puppy mix, their grits. And he got to be so well known. He has such a really interesting personality that as he started making the rounds year after year, he would walk into these places that he was trying to sell, and people would say, "Hey, it's the Cornbread Man." And so he copyrighted that name, and it's on his shirt that he wears at the mill every day, and on his hat, he is Ray Wheeler, the Cornbread Man. So Atkinson is a really interesting, really local product, but it's one of those products that you probably pass by the grocery store every year because they are in the Triangle Market. They're pretty much in most grocery stores that you would go to within a 100-mile radius of Johnston County, and even into the Winston-Salem Greensboro Market, there are places you can find them. So they do frozen pastry strips. So if you want to make chicken pastry, they do biscuit mix, funnel cake mix, seafood breaders, the grits and the cornbread and the hush puppies, which is what everyone thinks of them as. But they have a very, very wide range of products.
Excuse my northern naivety here.
Sure.
But what is chicken pastry?
Oh, wow.
Matt, we've discussed
I didn't know I was going to I wasn't prepared for this conversation.
Can you tell me if this West Coaster knows what I'm talking about?
You give it a go.
Chicken pastry is like chicken and dumplings, right?
Yes.
It's another form of chicken and dumplings.
Correct.
Matt, if you watched Somewhere South with Vivian Howard, you would have known on that episode.
So, chicken and dumplings, when you think of dumplings, you almost think of like matzo ball soup. Like dumplings are like round
big
and
noodle-filled stuffed noodle kind of thing.
Right. But at least in Eastern North Carolina, when we say chicken and pastry, our pastry isn't in dumpling form. It's in these sort of like thin pastry strips.
Okay.
Almost like if spaghetti and lasagna noodles had a baby.
Sure.
And then you put it in with the chicken, and it's like a gravy consistency almost. So it's like, it's not quite soup. It's thicker than that. But chicken pastry is actually a really traditional meal for some people in Eastern North Carolina on Christmas. So the Wheeler family, for instance, when they get together for Christmas, they make a giant pot of chicken pastry, and they use their pastry, the frozen pastry strips that you can get from the mill. And so that is actually one of their more popular holiday items that they sell.
Well, and let it be known that we are sitting in front of a bag of 7,000 hush puppies right now.
Seriously.
That just came fresh out of the fryer, you said, on your drive up here.
Yeah.
And I just had one. It is truly like the taste of the South. Like it just takes you right there real fast. And for chatty Cathys like yours truly or my daughter Charlotte, you put one of those in your mouth, and guess what? It'll be a quiet dinner table for a while because you cannot
That's right.
stop chewing.
I'm going to bring some home to the mouth of the South, Cam, my oldest, tonight, because, yeah.
Seriously, it shut me up while you guys were
Try
talking.
it
I was
out,
just mowing it down. I'm like, I cannot. I better say something. I can't say anything. No, it was great. But
they're so good.
They are so awesome. And that's the cool thing. I mean, someone like Atkinson's, it's a staple. Yeah, as you said before, we've talked about the grits, the biscuit, the biscuits, and that's super simple too. It's like you're just mixing it with a little bit of water, and I don't even think you need to put eggs in there. I think it's just water or something.
I think so.
Yeah, it's super simple. And then the cornmeal, the cinnamon flake biscuits. I mean, that's really
one of their more popular gift items. People like giving the sweet stuff around Christmas, and so like the cinnamon biscuit mix, the funnel cake mix, stuff like that is a really popular gift item.
Well, the cornbread, I already know that I'm going to send some of that mix to my sister-in-law, who's an enormous cornbread fan up in New Jersey, and
they have a totally separate cornbread muffin mix.
Ooh, cornbread muffin mix.
Don't sleep on that. Matt, you and I, we're not from here. We live here, but our family is not from here. And this is a great way to say, like, this is what we know as our staples in this area. So go, take some to the Bay Area of California or upstate New York or New York in general, because they don't get that stuff.
Right.
And so this is great because I assume that, I don't know how it works with delivery and all, but at least if you ordered it and it could come to you here in North Carolina from Atkinson's, then you could ship it off.
Either one, actually, because so you can pick it up at most Triangle grocery stores and ship it yourself, but Atkinson does ship across the U.S. So you can either call the mill just by Googling Atkinson Mill, you'll find their phone number, or you can go to atkinsonmilling.com, and they have a online store there.
Send it wherever.
And you can send it wherever within the United States.
That's cool. So, yeah, I mean, this episode's coming out right around Thanksgiving. I think it would be probably a little too quick to make it to Thanksgiving, but really for pre-planning your Christmas dinner,
absolutely,
would be fantastic. Well, that's really cool. All right. Well, let's take a quick moment to talk about some of the people that keep the lights on here at our place, and that's the Folks Foundation that I wanted to mention. They are great folks that always highlight fantastic purveyors in North Carolina in general, as they are the champions of all good things crafted in North Carolina and the folks that make them. So go to folksfoundation.org. Be sure to consider a small donation to help support North Carolina makers, but also find out more by reading their online journal, the Folk Journal, that comes out quarterly and has great content that features people like artists, farmers, food makers like we're discussing, or even podcasters like us. So once again, go to folksfoundation.org. So let's keep taking a tour around Johnston County. First, we were in Clayton, and then we went to Selma, where Atkinson's Milling is. Next up, let's talk about how the sausage is made.
Yeah, let's. I've been watching so much Hamilton, so that's immediately what that reminded me of. But we're talking about actual sausage. Stevens Sausage in Smithfield, which is the county seat, so that's where Ava Gardner's from. But
and
Stevens,
also our friend Blake Gottlieb at Under the Oak.
At Under the Oak. Yeah. You guys were wonderful enough to have him on.
The one and only time Ava Gardner and Blake Gottlieb have shared a sentence.
Yes. It's beautiful. It's full circle. Honestly, his restaurant is maybe a block from her museum. So
you can spend a day, go to the museum, and then get a bite to eat.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Frank Sinatra fan, so she was his lady for a little while.
Was that his first wife? They were never married?
She was his second wife.
Second wife.
And he was her third husband.
They were married.
She was not his last wife.
Okay.
He was not. He was her last husband. She was not his last wife. I think he had like 7 or 8 wives, but he was her third and final.
Wasn't called the Rat Pack for it.
Honestly. There are some Frank Sinatra things at the Ava Museum, some letters he wrote her and gifts he gave her. So if you're interested in Ava's peers as well, I mean, there's Grace Kelly stuff, there's Gregory Peck stuff. It's really a well-curated museum. It's not just Ava, it's her contemporaries too. So
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's all in Smithfield.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. So obviously we were good friends with good old Blake Gottlieb, and who came by. He and Megan came by with the little one, Landon, and came by Y Hill recently.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
to try a little food, and it was good to seeing them. I can't believe. I mean, Landon is like. He was born
on our
show. The show was that aired. Megan came in on the microphone 2 days before she went into labor, and then was born on the day the show came out. So like, it's just nuts to see, And also, Matt, happy almost anniversary of our show. December 1st is 4 years that we've been doing this podcast.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is nuts. So and
congrats.
I think, so Landon's got to be like 2.5 at this point, something like that, maybe 3. I don't know.
I think he's gonna be 3. Yeah, probably gonna be 3.
Yeah. Anyhow, so we're talking about Smithfield and Stevens Sausage. I'm not familiar, so you gotta inform me. I'm not familiar with Stevens Sausage.
So Stevens Sausage is family owned and operated, 70 years in business. They're 4 generations in, but their family has over 250 years of family history in the Smithfield area, mostly in hog farming and sausage making. And Stevens is, again, one of those products that you probably pass in the grocery store and you just don't realize it's Stevens. They make sausage, chitlins, smoked sausage, hot dogs, hot dog chili, country ham slices, whole country ham, and probably as far as the holidays goes, their biggest item would be the whole country ham, which you can only get online or in the Triangle area. You can get it at Carly C's this time of year.
Okay. What about this? I'm looking at some of our notes on this, and seasoning meat like smoked neck bones and fat back.
Yes. So they sell a lot of meat that you wouldn't normally eat as the main course,
Right.
but that goes into a lot of the seasoning side, like as seasoning into the side dishes you would make this time
Like
of year,
stuffing?
like greens, collards,
Oh, okay.
College,
soups.
you throw a little
Yeah.
Fat back
fat
in there.
back in there,
Yeah,
give it some extra
beans,
flavor.
stuff like that. So you can get that from them as well as an additive.
Well, but also I'm thinking like this might come out late for Thanksgiving, although this year I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are going to be having multiple Thanksgiving dinners since we're not having large gatherings. So there'll probably be another time. So if you get this in time and you're making, for those of you that make your stuffing with sausage, I would imagine Stephen's sausage would be excellent for that.
Yes. Yes, very good. And they make, obviously, all different types of sausage. So whether you want the link sausage, sausage patties, ground sausage, before you go to your local grocery store, you can also go to stevens-sausage.com and look up, where they're located. And then also they, too, have an online store that you can order from.
I do need to know, what is a chitlin?
So are you sure you want to know this?
I don't, but I do.
It's intestines.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a very southern dish. And again,
But it's fried into like a chip, no? Or it's
No.
fried.
No, you're
It's-
thinking of
not pork. Yeah, pork rinds,
pork
but
rind or so. Chicharron.
yeah, it's fried, but not. It's more like a.
It's the offal.
It's not
the offal.
crispy. It's.
Sounds delicious,
as someone
by the
who
way.
is a born and bred Southerner, it is not for me.
okay.
I can't do it. I can't do it. But it is a Southern delicacy, if you will, to some people. And it is also a holiday tradition to some, as far as like having chitlins with the meal.
So it's fried intestine.
Yes.
It sounds delicious.
Yes.
But also, that's not the only thing that Stephen's Sausage also makes. They got the cured pork side meat, which is really cool. That's what we were talking about, too, like a flavoring agent and make it really nice. It's kind of almost like putting a big, thick, fatty piece of bacon into your stock, and it really just helps permeate flavor everything. Make sure.
Yes.
So when you're going to stevenssausage.com, it's stevens-sausage.com. And they look like they're all set up for online orders and delivery too. So that
Yep.
makes it easy. That's the nice thing, these small towns, sometimes you're like, oh, it's got to be a day trip to get out there, and then life gets in the way and you just don't have time to do this. You do have time to do this.
Absolutely.
You don't always have to go, on Amazon and give Jeff Bezos all of your money. But if you do go to Amazon, remember, be the boss. Be your own boss. I'm talking about Boss Coffee.
The Japanese flash brewed
That was so
cold Boss
smooth.
coffee.
Yeah. That's, again, Japan, small island off the coast of the Outer Banks, so regionally close to North Carolina.
Sure.
Really far west
Don't-
of the Outer Banks.
Yeah, don't check my facts on that, but it is a flash brewed cold brew coffee that is the most popular cold brew coffee both in Australia, New Zealand, and in the Asian countries out there in the islands. So your flavors, you've got
Gotcha.
black, you have vanilla, cafe au lait. If you do go and buy anything on Amazon, at least make sure that you're buying some Boss Coffee, and you can put NCFB podcast in the promo code when you get it, and you save 10% off. So there you go.
And you're going to get one to go today.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
It's great. I'm
you're
going to
get
drink it on the way
experience.
home.
Yeah, they really are delicious. All right. Like we said, it's a pandemic. If you can't get out to Johnston County, essentially Johnston County can come to you and all
Absolutely.
these delicious.
And you're still supporting local family-owned businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what you said is right, Max. Just to think about that, like we can spread the culture of what probably the Northerners or West Coasters mind is.
They have
like,
no idea what a chitlin is. We know,
Right.
obviously.
Well, obviously. Of course we know what a chitlin is. It's
Heard this
fried and
episode
tested.
4 minutes ago. Yeah.
And chicken pastry. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, Mom, you haven't had chicken pastry? Come on. Here we go.
Let me send you some.
Yeah. But thinking of the Weiss family, more notably your lady.
Ooh, you are the smooth segue master today.
Yeah. Because whereas the Atkinson's Milling Company, that's going to hit real close to home for the Trujillo household. We love our gluten. We're gluttons for gluten. But for one that might not be, and I'm very familiar with JP's Pastry,
Yeah.
who very much exclusively highlights gluten-free pastry or gluten-free desserts. It's tremendous. I know Sarah's not a big gluten person. I think even you yourself stay away from gluten when you can. And so for that, then why not? You haven't had a hush puppy yet, Matt.
That's true.
Yeah.
But no, gluten doesn't bother me. But, we actually, at a dinner a couple years ago, sat next to JP at Royale for a wine dinner. And awesome guy,
Really
hardworking guy. And yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing about JP is that probably a lot of people who live in the Triangle do know about him because his stuff is sold in Whole Foods and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But,
he's very proliferated into the Triangle Market, which is great.
yeah.
So, but he has a storefront in downtown Benson, which is just, again, a hop, skip, and a jump down I-40. But I think that what you're saying is true. I don't need gluten-free products. And I think that sometimes there's a mentality that if you are doing gluten-free or dairy-free or whatever, that you're having to sacrifice taste. And what is amazing about JP's products is that's not true at all. They taste amazing. And he is a certified gluten-free kitchen. So just a little bit about the difference between, a gluten-free product and a product that comes from a certified gluten-free kitchen. He only makes gluten-free products in his kitchen. So he is saying that whatever product you're getting from him was made in a kitchen that does not have anything gluten in it. So you're not getting a product that was made gluten-free in a kitchen, that's cross-contaminated by other gluten products.
That's a good point because if you're, I won't be held liable for this, but if you have celiacs, you could probably feel safe in getting JP's Pastry.
'Cause for some people, gluten-free is a choice, but for other people, it does make them ill. And so it's nice to know that you're getting a product that doesn't suffer from cross-contamination. He does offer, although speaking of cross-contamination, he does offer some nut-free products.
Okay.
But he can't certify that, because there are products that they make in the kitchen that do contain nuts. So
Gotcha.
But yes, you can find him at places like the Durham Co-op, Happy and Hale, and
Bodega if you're in downtown Durham.
Oh,
yes.
all these places.
Yeah.
It's on Liquid Stay at Whole Foods. Yeah, Sir Walter Coffee. Yeah.
Yes.
They're everywhere.
Med Deli if you're on Chapel Hill.
and then of course jpspastry.com.
Yeah.
And he does a really robust online ordering service.
Did you say if he has a storefront or not?
Yeah.
He does, in downtown Benson.
In downtown.
Yeah, and so you can go
get
purchase
some barbecue.
Exactly.
And then
you can go drink some broad slab.
Yeah.
Then get some gluten-free pastries on your way out of town. Stop by Stevenson's, grab some barbecue or the Redneck Barbecue
The
Lab.
Redneck Barbecue Lab. Yeah. With, we had Jerry on when we did our whole JoCo features.
Fellow Raider fan. Just had to throw that out there.
Oh, really?
Oh, Jerry and I are big silver and black
Nice.
fans.
I was not
and
aware.
Also, don't sleep on the fact that JP's has a significant amount of vegan products as well. So
Correct.
vegan banana bread, brownies, carrot cakes, chocolate squares. So there's a lot there. And also, I like
they make challah bread, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
What?
yeah,
Gluten-free challah?
Yeah.
Impossible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to JP
Impossible.
about that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then
Well, you just
also
made a
this
new
time of
friend.
year, pumpkin pie. I mean, they have a ton of really good stuff. And yes, they do offer vegan options as well.
Yeah, which is nice too because let's say you don't think going down to Johnston County would have food offerings that are gluten-free and vegan, let's say.
Right.
But that's just showing that there's some evolution going on out there.
Absolutely.
Which is pretty awesome and great. So, so check that out. But in a completely different scenario, when we shift gears here and we shift down back into meats,
Yep.
we're talking about Carolina Packers.
Wait,
Yes.
what? Aaron Rodgers is moving to Carolina?
I was going to say, it's not a football team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't know the Packers were coming to Carolina?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's a thing. We're sending the Panthers to Green Bay. It's a trade.
That would be a pretty damn good trade right about now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the people of Green Bay would be too happy about that.
Yeah, they're like, no thanks. Well, if they got Christian McCaffrey,
Pass.
that'd be all right.
Yeah, maybe.
But Carolina Packers, that name is kind of well known, but I think what they're most known for are the bright leaf red hot dogs.
Yes.
That's something that we all know, and that's That's a cool thing. Those are those bright red hot dogs you see, and they're
Pork
usually
based,
in a
not
little-
beef based.
Yeah, pork based, and they're in the little plastic bag.
Yep.
Put them in a huge bag. Like,
That's right.
It makes you feel like you must eat a
Little
1,000
zip
hot dogs
tie
today.
action. Yeah, that's all you need. Because, I mean, it's not like you're going to repackage them. You're obviously going to eat 20 hot dogs today when you buy them.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the way you do it.
There are 3 cooking methods for these hot dogs that are equally controversial in Johnston County. You have the team grilled. You know, you throw them actually on any kind of grill. Then you have team boiled, where you like heat them up in boiling water.
Yeah.
And then you have team frying pan, little bit of water, roll them around until they're warm all the way through.
I mean, all of those are very acceptable, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because they come cooked. Like, you could also eat them out of the
Raw.
bag, you know? Yeah. So, you know, you're basically just heating them through.
Yeah. I think a more, I mean, not to take away from Carolina Packer for a second, but I think the more controversial discussion is what you put on your hot dog. You know, there's
Absolutely.
that, obviously, the mustard and relish versus ketchup and the
Slaw,
whole, or
chili.
coleslaw, chili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you put on your hot dog?
You know, I'm actually, I accept all creeds
Yeah,
here.
exactly. I'm an all the way kind of girl.
Yeah, sometimes I'm in the mood for just like old fashioned ketchup, which people would
Right,
say
yeah.
is like a sin, and sometimes I want mustard, or maybe sometimes I want both. I want both. I want both. But I definitely want sauerkraut.
Here's where I draw the line.
Oh,
mayonnaise.
yeah.
If you
Mayonnaise.
putting mayonnaise on your hot dog, get out. Like, I can't understand it. Can't abide by
I can
it.
do that when I'm in a Chicago dog sensibility. Like when I have a pickle spear and maybe even a nice crisp fresh tomato, then I'll throw a little mayo in there. But it's like at that point, it sounds like you want a hamburger right now.
Right,
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
won't
there's
do that.
mayonnaise in the slaw. Like sauerkraut, I totally get. But like just
Sauerkraut
to
is my-
squirt
yeah,
mayonnaise
yeah.
on top of your hot dog, why?
I will say this: if you were over the age of say 25, you're no longer allowed to put ketchup on your hot dog. I'm just going to make that.
so you're
a rule.
saying, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
like,
that's
grow up.
You said. I mean, I'm sorry. Is ketchup just for children now? Did I
Yes.
miss that memo?
Yeah, it is.
No.
I mean, I can let it pass if it's
What?
there near your fries and you accidentally bump a fry into some ketchup. But be an adult. Get some mustard.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
Ketchup are for children. That's my stance.
I mean,
You don't put ketchup on a hot dog?
That's just
on
like your
You
opinion,
don't put
man.
ketchup on a hamburger?
If I could put barbecue sauce on in lieu of ketchup, I would do that every single time.
You know, I think we've talked about this before, and Chef Jeff Sizer's talked about this. Which,
Right.
anyway, by the way, he's a new chef, you know, at 21C, as you well know, and he we
I
need
knew
to
it
talk to
so
him.
long ago, and he told me you can't tell anybody. But now it's official.
Oh, yeah, you can tell me. We had this close to 4 years ago when they first came on with Royale about how ketchup as Heinz 57 makes it is pretty much as perfect as you can make ketchup.
Yeah.
There is something beautiful about the simplicity of ketchup. Now,
It's full umami. I get it. Like it's a perfect product,
right.
Except
so,
for it's kind of dumbed down though. It's like it's just a sweet sauce. In my mind, it feels very sweet saucy.
Well,
like-
I will say I do often find myself adding hot sauce to ketchup.
Right.
But there's still the beauty of the ketchup there.
I mean, also to be fair, I just learned about the Heinz 57 origin story, and ketchup was invented to cover up the fact that you were eating bad meat. So it was meant to be the only thing that you could taste because
Necessity is the mother of all invention.
correct, because the meat tasted terrible.
back then it was lips and assholes, folks. That's what you were eating in your hot
In your hot
dogs.
dog, yeah.
But we're getting back to Carolina Packers. They've been doing some pretty high level and good quality product as well for a long time. And that everybody, I mean, you can find these pretty easily. Like they are distributed through U.S. Foods and Cisco and Cheney Brothers. So all the restaurants that listen to the show, if you don't know where to get a Carolina Packers bright leaf hot dog, then I can't help you. I don't know. I'm helping you right now.
I mean,
'cause this is where you get it.
brightleafhotdogs.com.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Carolina Packers, it used to be called Carolina Packing Company, founded in 1941 in Smithfield. They used to be a livestock market, and they actually did slaughtering until 1997 when they quit doing that on site and started just focusing on all their product line operations. But the good news is that, we had talked about Rufus Brown with Johnston County Hams. He was the cure master at Johnston County Hams for many decades. He partnered with Lady Edison. He was part of that product. And unfortunately, Johnston County Hams closed last year, and Rufus has now moved to Carolina Packers. So he's now with Brightleaf and working in their ham division. And so they also have sort of the same kind of products like hot dogs, hams, spiral cut hams, sausage, things like that.
Well, they're
that
making
you can
the bologna, do like a fried bologna sandwich.
Yes.
Getting back into some real traditional Southern stuff.
Little white bread, little mustard.
See, I don't think that's a traditional, because I grew up, I think that's more actually like a Northeast thing. Like,
But did you fry it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's
Not a
East Coast
deep
thing.
fryer, but like a frying pan.
You
Yeah.
do it, on the pan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have time to fry back then. I just I would just put an Oscar Mayer slab of bologna and a cheap Kraft American cheese slice on Wonder Bread, and there was my lunch.
Yeah, but I mean, just put it in the fryer for like a couple of minutes with some hot oil. And
Yeah.
then it's like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about the restaurants that listen. So I just wanted to make a note that other than Miss Debbie's Apples, all of the companies we're talking about do a robust wholesale business.
Right.
So if you're interested in any of these products for a restaurant, then that is definitely an option.
If you're supporting local, that's fantastic. And that's something that can just be the cornerstone of your flavor profile when you're doing things like this. And really, if you pay attention to those kind of more raw materials and not skimp on that part, that really does kind of create a better foundation for your food programs. Sometimes people forget about that. It's like the type of salt you use, the type of flour you use is so much more important than, say, the finishing vinegars that are really expensive and all that. It's like, I worry more about the fundamentals than the highlights at the very end.
Yeah. It's like the Carolina Packers need to worry more about their offensive and defensive line than really about their quarterbacks and like the wide receivers.
Yeah.
But I just want to get back to the whole thing about this is just my own mind going here, but the fact that they have a ham division, I just love that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I'm the director of the ham division.
What are you doing down there?
I might
we're
have
hamming
made
it
up the term ham division, but
You might have made that up.
I mean, they do
Darn it,
offer.
I really
It's a
wish
ham
that was
sector.
It's a segment of the business, the ham
So it's a
products.
yeah, okay.
Like that's Rufus's wheelhouse. So you've got the country hams and the ham slices and the spiraled hams, and
It's the
that's
ham division.
That's a totally different thing than like the hot dogs and the sausage and yeah. So
And they make the chili,
If they
too.
don't call it the ham division, I just feel like that's a missed opportunity.
They definitely are now. But the people from the ham division have to talk to the hot dog division because
Right.
they need some ham for their hot
the
dogs. that they're
sausage
making
sector,
pork.
I like to call it.
Both ways
Interestingly
for
enough, though, if you want to try all sectors of the Carolina Packers business, if you go to brightleafhotdogs.com /collections/holiday, this year they are offering holiday boxes that they will ship to you, and they come in different sizes and different prices, but it's like basically a sampling of their products, and it all comes to you packed in a box. So.
Oh, that sounds like that does genuinely sound like a great holiday.
Yeah,
idea.
especially for like the out of state, or even some of that maybe that used to live here that doesn't live here anymore. It's
They
like
miss their bright leaf meats.
yeah, our military, our soldiers that aren't
yeah.
aren't home right now, and they need to have something be sent out there that way. I know we have a lot of friends that listen. We can see our stats, and there are huge spikes in like the Middle East, and I'm like, I don't think that we just kind of became popular in the Middle East. I think that might be our military. But when you see
Maybe.
those spikes there, it's like, oh yeah, don't forget we have we have Americans and North Carolinians all over the world. So yeah, send them something that makes them think about home, and this is really a cool way to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as we're theming about holiday, of course, things that we must always have is like maybe some holiday wine and beer that is also offered up. Some of these brands I am familiar with, like Double Barley, Deep River. But Hinnant, let's get into that. The North Carolina's oldest and largest muscadine vineyard.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Absolutely. Out of Pine Level, North Carolina, right off of I-95. Funny story about that, since you brought up my accent. I had a media person in town years ago, and I kept telling them that we were going to Pine Level, and they're like, what? How do you spell that? I was like, Pine Level? It took me a second to...
You're not really enunciating the N.
Correct.
there.
So I was like, pine, like the tree, level, like what you level things with, pine level. And she was like, you definitely were not saying it like it was 2 words. It's like, I'm so sorry.
Pine level?
Pine level. So yes, Hinnant is family owned and operated. They are the oldest and largest commercial muscadine vineyard in the state. So they do a huge wholesale business. They sell to Walmart and most grocery stores. You can find them year round. Muscadine obviously is a sweet wine, which I know isn't everyone's cup of tea, but this time of year especially, they have a very popular Christmas wine called Santa's Baby Red Blend, and it is going to be a sweeter wine. But
Well,
they're
something
over
like that
100
could-
acres.
You could actually make like a good mulled wine and get some spices and heat it up and kind of mess around with it. You can mess around. Matt, you're looking at me like, really? You could? You can.
Well, just that you like to do. That's one of your favorite things that Felicia does. You've told it a couple times that she makes the house smell beautiful with a mulled wine, like just like baking and or cooking and spices and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
and if you don't know what we're talking about, you could take any decent red wine or even inexpensive red wine, doesn't matter, and then you just throw some fall, winter spices like cinnamon, nutmeg,
Clove,
star anise, whatever. Throw those all in there. You know what also is a little clincher? People they sleep on. Take a green tea bag and drop it in there.
Yeah,
with the
I
heat.
could see that.
Now, if you have a tannic red wine, don't do that. But if you had a muscadine red wine where the tannins are
give
very
it some
light,
earthiness.
you give it you add to its depth of character there. And so, but you don't want to leave it in too long. Just leave it in while you're steeping for about 5 minutes and then take it out. But that kind of.
But the way
rounds
Felicia
out.
does it, she puts it in a crock pot and just kind of leaves it all day, right?
Yeah, you just throw it on a crock pot on low, and it just simmers the whole day. You can do that the first thing in the morning when you're going to cook your Thanksgiving dinner or so, or Christmas dinner, and the whole house just smells fantastic. And then you just take little nips off it throughout the day. Oh, the Cowboys finally scored a touchdown. Here we go. We'll take a little nip. Oh, the Lions got sacked again. Yep, there we go. A little nip of old wine. This is just
It's going to be a lot of nips.
Self-medicating.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Why did those two lousy teams get the rights to Thanksgiving every single week?
We're going to have to
Every
get our
single year.
producer to research that.
Yeah.
I could see the Cowboys, but why I guess the Lions just for some reason is tradition.
Yeah, and I will
It should have been the
say-
Carolina Packers.
Carolina Packers. I still vote. Dak Prescott is MVP of the season, and only sports fans will get that. But all right, so let's continue talking about some wine and beer that you can get. So, Double Barley. I went there not that long ago, and man, they've got some serious beer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I went down the whole line. I'm like, let's try a little bit of this, and let's try a little bit of that.
You got to be careful with that because, they have some high volume beer options.
Yeah,
So
no doubt.
they don't have a lot of light day drinking options. It's all like 7, 8, 11,
Yeah.
12. So
And they're in, where are they located?
also Smithfield.
They're Smithfield as well. That's right. Yeah, that's a cool spot. They're fun to hang out. That's just a fun afternoon to spend.
Yes, yeah, and they have a beer garden, like an outdoor patio. They have food on site, so it's a really nice sort of way to spend, lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a holiday ale. It's a spiced Belgian strong ale.
Oh, that's right.
Very good.
And then we have other breweries out there too, like Deep River, which I believe my next door neighbor and voice of the podcast, Brian Hoyle, that was the first beer that he introduced me to. It was their white chocolate stout, I want to say, that they make. It's like so desserty and delicious, and he's like, "This is the best beer you could ever have," and it was tremendous.
When he says it like that, how could you not believe it?
I know. I'm like, okay, yes.
Yeah, they're constantly doing really interesting, innovative, like one-off things. So you never really know what seasonal things they're going to come out with. I think one year they did a Santa's cookies kind of situation, or milk and cookies, and then they've done a pickle beer for the Mount Olive Pickle Festival. They've done some really interesting things. Their normal seasonal this time of year, though, is the JoCo White Tater Belgium Double, which has 200 pounds of white sweet potatoes in it. So
That's crazy.
that's a really good seasonal one.
Ah, okay.
And you have a pro tip, apparently.
Yeah, so I know you guys have had Jeremy Norris on with Broad Slab Distillery before. He's also a JoCo business, and he makes a really good, he calls it Legacy Reserve Moonshine. And so it's the white shine that comes out that he then puts in the charred white oak barrels for about 6 months. He doesn't age it long enough to call it bourbon, but it does get that sort of like caramel color to it. You put a little nip of that in some eggnog.
The Legacy Reserve, huh?
Yes, it's so good.
That'll
So good.
change your drawl, Matt.
That's right. You'll be
Yeah.
sounding like you're from Benson.
Might have to do that. Just like start calling my family members. Hey, y'all, how you doing?
My mom thinks
Who's
I
this?
have an accent when we get on the phone.
That's
so
ridiculous.
adorable.
Yeah, she's like, but I will say, y'all is kind of put into my vernacular now. It's
That's
an
fair.
easier thing to say than could all of you all
Right.
go here. It says, hey, all y'all, come on.
Right.
On
Or
over.
Ewans.
Yeah. Matt, you still say
Very short. Y'all.
use guys.
Use guys.
You tend to say use guys. You're not going to get rid of that one.
I never say you guys, but I try to say you all. I know it's
Oh, man.
I'm a
Nah,
stickler
just
about
y'all.
language, but
Yeah, so we've talked about, Hennett, Double Barley, Deep River. I know you guys have had Broad Slab on the podcast before. Gregory is a local winery out of Anger. And then Fainting Goat, obviously, out of Fuquay-Varina, but they opened another location in downtown Benson. And then we also have Instill, which just opened in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Instill's been on the pod also.
Yes, right behind Deep River. So that's sort of like a twofer location. You can get beer and rum.
There you go.
And they all have food trucks out there a lot. So that would be a nice little day trip too as well. You can sit outside, eat, drink. But all of these locations make up what we call the Johnston County Beer, Wine, and Shine Trail.
Beer, wine, and shine.
So the Beer, Wine, and Shine Trail is self-guided. You can do as many stops or as little stops as you want, depending on if you have a designated driver and how long you have. But that sort of completes the 7 stops along the trail. So we like to talk about the Beer, Wine, and Shine Trail as something that you can do when you're in Johnston County or do one stop for the day. But we used to have just a few stops. And now with the addition of especially Instill and Fainting Goat, we're definitely growing as far as craft beverage options in the county. And we're really happy about that. So.
Yeah, there's so much to do out there. And it again, if you're living in the Triangle, Johnston County's pretty darn close to get to. So before we get out of here, tell us about visit JoCoGrows.org. What is that?
So if you go to JoCoGrows.org, then this is a site that we have worked with the Johnston County Cooperative Extension to create that lists all of our local farms that will do sales to the public. So if they're just wholesale, then they're not included. But if you can show up on the farm and purchase something, then you can find them listed at JoCoGrows.org. And so you can find farms that sell products and produce like jams, jelly, sweet potatoes, collards, things that you would maybe want to put on your table this holiday season. And they're locally sourced and fresh from the field. So that's a really good resource I wanted to mention at the end.
Oh, so they function like a co-op almost.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. What's going on in Johnston County is really a microcosm of what's happening all over North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's historic, true to its roots, but modernizing and commercializing at the same time. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you get out of here, Ashby, because you're a guest on our show, you're going to go home with some proof alcohol ice cream.
Yes.
And you can pick which one you like. There's a lot of different flavors to choose from moonshine to bourbon to rum, and mixed with all fun little flavors, whether it's caramel or coconut or apple pie.
So the people at Proof,
Yeah.
hear me out, Broad Slab Moonshine Ice Cream.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I think
I'm sure
we're gonna
they'd be
have
happy to collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And this actually ties in nicely because our friends over at Triangle Wine Company are a great local retailer that carries a lot of these products. So you could get some of your beers like
Deep River and Double Barley.
I bet you might even be able to find some Hennett wine as well, some muscadine wine. We'd have to go check. I know they have a specific North Carolina wine section there. So you want to be true to the family, true to the state, or if you're sending gifts to your friends and family outside of the state, that's a good way to start. You are helping them, but you're also helping the purveyors at in Johnston County in general. So go to trianglewineco.com because you can pick up proof alcohol ice cream there, as well as a lot of fantastic Johnston County purveyors. Make sure that when you are there, you use the NCFB promo code, whether you're checking out in person or you're doing it online in the little promo code section on the payout. Put NCFB in and you'll receive a nice little discount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about Johnston County in general, you can go to johnstoncountync.org.
Or call Ashby Brame at 919.
Yep.
Well, Ashby, thank you for coming here
Thank you
and
for
giving
having
us
me.
this snapshot tour of Johnston County, this virtual tour. I'm excited, and everybody out there, Either go visit JoCo, or now you can have JoCo come to you. Buy all the things we've mentioned. Go to johnstoncounty.nc.org and you will eat and drink very merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.